Thank you for joining us for another ball review. This one is for Storm's newest Premier line release, the Code X. I'm using my typical Tesla again, 65 by 5 1/4 by 40. Like the Code Black and the Code Red before it, the Code X uses the Rad 4 core, which is covered by the solid version of R2S, which completes the trio of reactions. As you'd expect, the Code X is the earliest and strongest of the three, but I'm actually seeing more back-end motion from the X than from the Red, with the Black still being the sharpest. With R2S being a medium strength cover, what you have is a good amount of traction from the solid cover, but not overkill by any means, with a very heavy rolling, aggressively revving core. A term I've been using a lot more lately is throwable, which means it'll be usable for the majority of bowlers on your average league conditions. The Sonic, for example, seems like a more throwable Intense, while the Code X seems like a more throwable Sherlock. The Sherlock is one of the most fun to throw balls I've ever owned, but the things that make it fun also kept me from being able to use it very often. The X rolls similar to it, but is several boards weaker overall and isn't quite as firm at the break point. This, however, reduces it to a more usable level of reaction. It's still strong, it's still going to be in play on all but the heaviest of conditions, but with a bit weaker surface prep or even a bit of polish, this will be a more controllable and effective reaction for the lower rev and or higher speed crowd on a regular house shot, though it still might be too much ball for the higher rev or lower speed group. What it really reminds me of is if you took the Sherlock and the IQ Tour Solid and blended them together, which it really should, strong Rad ASIM core, R2S Solid just like it's on the IQ, so the math all works out here the way you expect it to. Also, a big point to make is that the X is extremely similar to the Alpha Crux. I have it a little longer and a little stronger, but the differences are so minute that it almost seems like nitpicking. Obviously, it has predictable pros and cons, the pros being that it's going to control the mid lane well, and it's going to be firm but predictable on the back end. The cons being is that it's going to be more sensitive to early friction than a shiny pearl or hybrid cover would be, and that it likely won't make it through an entire 3 games at a league without you having to ball down to something that gets down the lane a little easier. Like I said, if you're looking for a slightly tamer Sherlock or a beefier IQ Tour Solid, or above all just a replacement for the Alpha Crux, the Code X is the answer. Moving on to Angel's part of the review, she actually got to throw the ball before I did. It showed up a few hours before our league started on Friday night, and she was really excited for this one.
Just a little bit.
The Sonics turned out to be the perfect league ball for her, and while the Code X is a handful of boards stronger, to go back to my favorite word of late, it's still very throwable for her. Despite the strong out-of-box finish, she was actually able to get through the whole league set with it, so...
Yes, you brought them, well, you gave them to me both beforehand, and when I took them down, I threw the idol a few times, but then I went straight to that one, and I didn't put it down.
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
I figure you would, but... Now, 2000 grit is still a pretty aggressive surface, but it still is only R2S Solid that we're talking about. It's not the most aggressive cover that they make by a long shot, so despite it being a strong ball, it's not too strong. It was still usable. Like, how much did you have to move all night?
I think from where I started to when I finished, it was maybe 5 boards.
Okay.
So it wasn't anything that, it wasn't standing in front of the gut or anything. Thank goodness. But
yeah, it's still quite a bit deeper than you normally go, but...
With the Sonic, I don't think I really have to move but maybe 2 boards throughout the whole thing, and so I don't fight all the other stuff. But with this one, yeah, it's a little bit more, but it wasn't something that I wasn't comfortable with. That if I had to go too far left, then I'm not sure I'd want it, especially in league.
Yeah, and like I said, this one excited her quite a bit. We mentioned in the Sonic review that the Special Agent is one of her favorite balls of all time, if not absolute tops. And from having the same cover in R2S Solid to a very similar color scheme and reasonably similar numbers, this is virtually the second coming of the Special Agent. This is the only ball that had any chance of making her any happier than she was with the Sonic, and I think it's delivered.
Yes, very, very much. It might even be up in front of the Sonic.
Oh, okay. That's pretty high praise, folks. Yeah. Thank you for joining us for our review of the Code X. It releases on March 9th. Hashtag Storm Nation. Okay. For extra premium content, early access, behind-the-scenes looks, private Q&As, blogs, and more, join a passionate new type of bowling community at www.patreon.com/Luke Rosdahl.